Welcome back to Skytech-Lens. For decades, Canada and the US enjoyed a uniquely close relationship. Open borders, shared economies, and a sense of family. But that easy partnership is unraveling. Tariffs, political tension, and consumer backlash are grinding the gears of cross-border commerce. What began as political posturing has become a real economic standoff, with ripple effects for millions. Canadians are staying home, trade routes are shifting, and the old flow of goods and people is facing new obstacles. This isn't just about politicians, it's a deep structural shift that could redefine North America for generations. From collapsing tourism to tariffs in overdrive, the quiet payback is real. Let's dive into how these changes are reshaping the continent's economic future. Crossing the border for shopping, sports, or sightseeing was once a Canadian tradition, and a lifeline for US border towns. But now that flow has slowed to a trickle. In places like Niagara Falls and Plattsburgh, American tourism has plummeted, leaving hotels and malls empty. The reasons: political tension, tariffs, and a sense among Canadians that they're no longer welcome. The math doesn't help either. A weaker Canadian dollar, higher gas prices, and long border waits make US trips less appealing. Canadians are choosing to vacation and shop at home, fueling a domestic tourism boom. Provincial parks and resorts are packed, and every dollar not spent in the US is strengthening local Canadian economies. For US border towns, the impact is brutal. Businesses are closing, jobs are vanishing, and for lease signs are everywhere. The cultural ties that once bound the two nations are fraying, one canceled trip at a time. US tourism boards are scrambling with discounts and ad campaigns, but negative headlines drown out their efforts. Meanwhile, Canadians are building new vacation habits and shopping traditions that don't involve crossing the border. Even if politics improve, these new patterns may be here to stay. The golden era of effortless cross-border travel may be over, leaving economic scars and lost connections on both sides. If tourism was a slow leak, the tariff war was an explosion. What started with steel and aluminum quickly escalated. Tariffs on everything from bourbon to washing machines. Canada hit back, targeting politically sensitive US products, making it clear it wouldn't be bullied. For businesses, the chaos was immediate. Supply chains shattered, costs soared, and some companies simply couldn't survive. The proposed 35% tariff on electric vehicles is a direct threat to the integrated North American auto industry. Jobs and plants on both sides are at risk. Consumers feel it too. American goods in Canada now cost more, fueling a backlash against US brands. The tariffs, meant to protect American jobs, often do the opposite, hurting US farmers and manufacturers who relied on Canadian markets. There's no easy way out. Untangling decades-old supply chains is costly and complex. Small businesses face a grim choice: absorb the costs or lose customers. The old stability of US-Canada trade has been replaced by uncertainty and risk. Now every business must factor in the political winds, because one policy shift can upend years of planning. For generations, Canada's trade strategy was simple: ship it south. But recent trade disputes exposed the danger of relying on one partner. Now, Canada is diversifying, fast. New trade deals with Asia and Europe are opening massive markets, and Canadian goods are finding new homes from Japan to Germany. Infrastructure is being upgraded, ports, railways, and logistics are all being retooled for global trade. Canadian businesses are learning to navigate new languages, regulations, and cultures, with government support smoothing the way. The US market isn't being abandoned, but it's no longer taken for granted. Companies are building resilience, sometimes even setting up US operations to bypass tariffs. Every container shipped to Europe or Asia is a quiet act of payback, reducing US leverage in future negotiations. The goal: a more independent, resilient Canadian economy, less vulnerable to political whims. Canada is moving from economic satellite to global trading nation, rewriting its identity for a new era. As political tensions rose, Canadians took action by voting with their wallets. The Buy Canadian movement exploded, with shoppers seeking out homegrown products and shunning US brands. Social media fueled the trend, turning Made in Canada into a badge of pride and economic self-defense. The impact was real. Local businesses thrived, and retailers gave more shelf space to Canadian goods. At the same time, Canada tightened enforcement of trade rules, closing loopholes and protecting domestic industries. American companies now have to source more components from within North America to sell in Canada. The government is investing in key sectors, biomanufacturing, critical minerals, to reduce reliance on imports. This mix of consumer activism and policy is building a more self-reliant economy. It's not about isolation, but about rebalancing a lopsided relationship and ensuring Canada can chart its own course. The economic friction has spilled into politics, uniting Canadian leaders across party lines. Public support for a tough stance is overwhelming. Canadians are willing to endure pain to defend sovereignty. In the US, the picture is fractured. Lawmakers from affected states and industry groups are pushing back, warning that tariffs are hurting American jobs and competitiveness. The looming 2026 USMCA sunset review is a major flashpoint. Future trade stability hangs in the balance. Both sides are maneuvering. The US uses tariffs as leverage, while Canada signals it has other options. The outcome is uncertain. Will US pressure force a change, or will protectionism deepen the rift? The personal rapport between leaders is gone, replaced by public disputes and hardened positions. The next chapter will be shaped by political will, public opinion, and the choices made in both countries. The tariff turmoil has been a painful wake-up call for Canada. What started as a disruption has become a national project of economic reinvention. Canadians are staying home, businesses are finding new markets, and Buy Canadian is more than a slogan, it's a movement. The process hasn't been easy. Jobs have been lost, and uncertainty is the new normal. But Canada is emerging tougher and more independent, accelerating its evolution into a global trading nation. The US relationship remains vital, but it's now a partnership of equals, not dependence. Canada is negotiating from a position of strength, with more options on the table. The tariff war was a stress test, revealing vulnerabilities, but also a deep well of resilience. Canada's story is now one of adaptation, pivoting, rallying, and redefining its place in the world. We've seen collapsing tourism, punishing tariffs, and Canada's pivot to new markets. The Buy Canadian movement and political chess game are setting the stage for a high-stakes showdown in 2026. This isn't just a spat, it's a fundamental reshaping of the North American relationship. The biggest questions remain. Can Canada's new path last? Will the US change course? The answers will shape economies and alliances for decades. What do you think? Can Buy Canadian truly replace US products? Will tariffs backfire? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates.